Let's jump on into Planet Zoo today and create a very high detailed habitat. With a beautiful external viewing area for guests, and with an indoor educational viewing experience, all for the stunning animal, the coyote. I started this habitat off with building one modular piece to create the external viewing area. And I started with the paths. With the paths, I created my own paths with the plaster piece, and underneath is a concrete slab, creating like a tile effect. Then I could move on to the actual barrier. This is going to stop the animals escaping. We're going to be using null barriers and wrapping it around our custom barriers here. If you're unsure of how to do that method, then you really should learn. I have actually got a tutorial on it. It's the best thing since sliced bread. Honestly, using null barriers and creating your own barriers in Planet Zoo is game changing. So that's what I do. I'm using the mesh fences here, and you probably heard me at the start of this video in the intro explaining that this is going to be a very high detailed habitat, and I'm not lying, it's probably one of my most highly detailed habitats I've ever created. And I mean, no stone is left unturned with this one, and even though it was very tedious to build and very time consuming, I mean, this build took me a hell of a lot of time to create it. It's worth it, because in the end is an amazing, majestic, beautiful habitat, what the coyote, the animal, deserves. The coyote is one of the new animals out of the Americas pack, so I'm excited to build for a new animal. I took a hell of a lot of time creating each part of this habitat, and just this one modular piece took me about an hour and a half to 2 hours. I wanted it perfect, because I know that once I've got one modular piece correct, I can easily just copy and duplicate that over on the same grid, and I've pretty much got the viewing area. I also knew I wanted the actual front viewing area, which you can see me creating here with the mesh and the metal round pieces. I wanted it as an angle. I didn't want it straight. I wanted kind of a different look. Now this created so much more problems for me that it really took my building skills to the test. I just want to big up Caesar Creates at this point, because he actually gave me a little bit of an idea for this viewing area with the mesh pieces, and that's using the wire to make it look like the mesh is connected to these metal round pieces at the end with wire, and you can see me doing that in a minute. But this is how I started it off. I just wanted to get all the proportions right and all the details right first before we start hitting the nitty gritty and getting all the little details like the wire and the bolts and stuff like that. I needed to get the angles correct, I needed to get the height correct, and then I knew at the top I didn't want that just flat either, so I put it at an angle, and I'm going to have it down, coming down at a diagonal angle towards the floor. I also wanted it curved, which created even more problems. I wanted like a dint in it, so it looks a little bit more natural. And the main problem was at the first that I needed to find a wire that fits the length of each curved piece, which luckily there was. You can see me just putting them in now. But this is the wire I was talking about. I'm going to separate it a little bit from the actual poles and add some bolts on so it looks like it's bolted into the poles rather than just sunken into it. All these little details do count when it all comes together. And then I'm going to grab those same wire pieces, the longer ones, and add them to the end of each meshed piece. Now let's separate those mesh pieces, add the wires, and then you can see me adding these bolts. I'm not actually too sure. I think they're at the Twilight Pack, these bolts. I think they're like window bolts. At the bottom and at the top you can see I've added these kind of like catches as well, these like kind of like locks. Well, they look like locks anyway, don't they? And these are actually out the conservation pack. They're actually meant to be hooks for tools and stuff like that, but it works really well, making it look like something is hooked into a pole like a mesh fence is here. See, at the bottom I've added some base as well. I told you I'm really concentrating on the details here, adding some base nuts in so it looks like it's actually been planted and nutted into the ground, screwed into the ground, sorry. Like I said, no stone left unturned here. Now to add some foliage. Now the reason I add foliage is now on the exterior of the habitat is, like I said, I'm creating one modular piece. So once I copy this over, everything will copy it over, and it's much more easy to create a viewing area that way. We're actually nearly done with the viewing area. I just need to create like a planter style thing here. So I'm just going to add some simple plaster pieces just to corner that off. so it doesn't overgrow and that our guests don't step in our foliage and flatten it and kill it off, of course. And then at the back I just finished it off with the same kind of design with the mesh coming down once again, and that's pretty much that modular piece done now. You can see I've added a little railing as well. I actually forgot to press record when I was adding that railing. Just a black simple railing really with a wood piece on top. And then I'm going to add one of my backdrops. These are off my Steam Workshop page. Link is in the description to my Steam Workshop page. You can download them off there, and it just adds a nice little backdrop. This is going to be the back of the habitat, creating a more natural looking environment for the animals and for the guests to look in, of course. Just getting that level, lining everything up as it should be. Then I can go and delete the other backdrop options, and then there we go. I'm going to group everything together, and I can easily, as you can see, duplicate them over and create that viewing area and that outdoor area for our coyotes. We need to now move on to creating the hard shelter backstage area and the indoor viewing area for guests and animals. So we need to create a custom wall. I did so by adding once again the plaster pieces to make it look like tile at the bottom, and then just layered these Indonesian stained wood pieces in the middle and at the top to give a nice wood effect. We're going to add a little support beam as well, just for more realism. It looks like it's holding the wood together. Now, because we've got one piece and it's on the grid piece, quite easy to duplicate once again, just like we did with the viewing area. Because it had an on the grid piece, we can copy it over on the grid and just line everything up how we want it. It's nothing extravagant. We have got custom walls and his is going to be high detailed, but there's not like much more difficulty to come with this build really. All I have to do is duplicate stuff over and move it over. You can see I've shortened this wall down here and just deleted some of the piece. Once again, I can duplicate it over on the same grid and start creating our main building. Now this is going to be divided into different sections, and I'll show you what I mean right now. Once all the walls were in place and the divides of the walls were in place, it looked something like this, and you can see we've got different sections. On the bottom is the entrance to the actual build where our guests will come in, traverse through the little hallway into the viewing area, the indoor viewing area and the education point. We've got two windows in there, one smaller window for children, one bigger window for adults, and that sees onto the hard shelter area for the animals. And on the right is going to be our backstage area and where our habitat gate will be located. To start off, we're going to do up the indoor viewing area. We're going to add two glass panels with trims, some benches, and we're going to add some very important education points, screens, and some homemade custom educational writing. Not functional, but it looks like it is functional. Now, before our guests actually get to this indoor viewing area, there's a little bit of a hallway, so I wanted to spruce this up a little bit as well and add a little sign. Quite a modern build this, well, modern interior anyway, so I wanted to add quite a modern sign, and we're going to add a water fountain with a sign behind it. We're using the wire pieces to look like a grid, plaster pieces to look like a little well what the water to go in, add some more of the wire pieces so it looks like it's holding this sign up, what says inside viewing. For the backstage area and where our habitat gate is going to be located, just add in all the tools and all the accessories that you would find in a backstage area of a zoo habitat. Remember, it's all about the little details. Moving on to the hard shelter for the animals, and of course we have to have some bedding in there. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to put a little divide and a little bit of a heightened bedding area as well for the coyotes. And then we're going to go to work on building fences and gates what look like they are electrical and that they can function. Obviously they have no functionality, but like I've already said, and I've said many times when I build stuff, it's all about the little details, and I wanted to have these little details and have a really high detailed habitat here, so I needed to try to make it as realistic as possible. So having gates like this and partitions like this is what you need if you want to make your habitats and your zoos in fact look more realistic. I'm going to grab some of the mesh pieces here and I'm just going to put it in here. Now the idea behind this is that it looks like it's going to be able to slide up and down by the control of a button on the inside of this habitat, what our zookeepers or our vets can press. And the functionality behind this is so that it can separate the animals from the guest. If at night time maybe they can lock up the animals, If for safety reasons they need to lock the animals away, or the vet needs to get to the animals to take care of the animals, then they can do. They can press this button, the gate will come down, and they can gain access through the habitat gate to the animals. To make it look like it has a switch, I just use the switch and I use the wires. If you just type in wire in your construction tab search bar, then the wires will come up and you can easily just place them down, and it looks like it's connected to the switch, which you can see me placing in here now, and to the gate what I've already built. Now moving on to the roof. Now if you watched any of my videos, you know when building any kind of building, I love having different height variants within the roofs. It's just something what I think looks better. I also like narrowing the grid size, like you can see I've done here in this video, to 1 meter, so I can have a little hangover roof hanging over the side of the actual building. I hate when it's just square and it just looks stupid, and you just wouldn't see that in real life. So I like to narrow that grid size down to 1 meter, have a little hangover, and have different height variants, especially if you've got a large building like I have here. Remember, this is quite a large building. I have got like 4 sections in one building. To create more lights, more natural lights, and a different height variant in this roof, I've added this little skylight, which you can see me placing down here. Now for the rest of the roof, the lower down bit, I wanted it thinner as well. I didn't want it as thick as the roof on the upper level. So all I have to do is place all these down and then meticulously go around and delete all the on the grid pieces to create a thinner looking roof, which is lower down. And you can see I've done the same on the other side as well, and that is the roof pretty much done. Apart from little decorations and stuff to make it look a little bit more realistic. So let's do that now. So for roof decorations, we created a hole where we're going to add another skylight, an automated electronic skylight that opens, and we're going to add some vents and some aircon systems and all the kind of stuff you will find on a roof, including solar panels. Now to finish off this habitat creation, there was only one thing left to do, and that was to add the foliage on the outdoor area of this habitat and where our guest viewing area will be. And also we're going to need some of the enrichment items for the coyote in there as well. We've got a pool on the end, and I'm just going to layer a lot of buffalo grass. Buffalo grass in Planet Zoo is an absolute lifesaver. If you're unsure how to actually place foliage and rockwork and stuff like that, or if you're new to Planet Zoo, just use buffalo grass. Layer different styles of buffalo grass, dig some down into the ground, or have some longer buffalo grass options, and honestly it will bring your habitats to life. Now for the rocks, I actually thought, right, I'm going to build like a little tunnel system here so our coyotes can kind of walk under these logs, or if they wish to do so, they can actually climb over these logs. It turned out that they couldn't traverse under these logs because the hitboxes for animals in Planet Zoo is absolutely awful. Please Frontier, sort it out. Give them smaller hitboxes. They should be able to easily walk underneath these logs, but they can't. So I'm showing you me adding them, but I end up actually taking them away and just keeping the buffalo grass in there. Everyone's still watching this video. We have made it. We're here. The habitat is built. Something I want to touch on quite quickly is these habitat education boards. Now this is not the education screen. This is just the small screen. Let me go into it to show you. This is simply the screen panel 1 meter by 1 meter. I'm only showing you because a lot of people have asked, where have you got those educational boards from? You can actually decide what you want in there. You can look up any animal and use these kind of screens to present the education point for guests. And I just added a little trim around the edge and a wood panel. You can see little details have been added in and throughout the build as well, including falling leaf litter, like you can see here. So we've got an amazing external viewing area for our guests to view our lovely animals, the coyotes. If they wish to do so, they can gain entrance to the right hand side here, into the indoor viewing area and some more educational points. Inside we've got a comfortable and spacious environment for our coyotes to chill out and get a bit of peace, or even go to the toilet. Dirty boy. Don't step in it. Oh. The access for the habitat is located here, and I'll just show you what I've done quickly with the no barrier system. You can see the gate is there, and all you have to do is, when creating your own habitat barriers and walls like I've done in this build, is just run that null barrier all the way around the outside. That's the most important part, the outside of your custom made fences and custom made walls, and then rejoin it back onto the other side of your habitat gate. And there we have it. Now, if you did enjoy this video, and if it's give you any tips or inspired you to create your own kind of habitat for the coyotes, then please hit that like button. If you're new to my videos, I create all kinds of Planet Zoo content, from tutorials to speed builds to information videos. So if you are new around here, then hit that subscribe button if you wish to see that kind of content. With that being said, you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next Planet Zoo video.